Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right. I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Coven Podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys. We're so happy to be here today.
Yes, and just disclaimer, I know our audio gets a little in and out a little more lately, but since the quarantine, how we're recording it, this is just how it is, since we're doing this all online. But bear with us and hope you guys enjoy our conversations anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of a relaxed fit episode today, doing like Q&A.
Yes, I'm excited to do this episode. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah, I appreciate you collecting all of our questions for us, but should we start with just like some catch up, or what's been going on with you?
Let's do some catch up. Yeah, so I have so much to talk about. I always feel like every week I'm like, oh, you know what? I've got this and this and this. I just feel like this week I was called to talk about specific things. So like, I'm starting to think that some of the messages that are sent to me are not specifically for me, but it's to get my awareness of what it is that I'm seeing, so that I can share that information with everybody out on our podcast. Mm-hmm. And I think that information may strike a chord with somebody out there. And so I'm very thankful to the guides or whoever is sending me the messages, the universe, whoever it is, because it's really helping me expand my knowledge and share that with everybody out there, including you, my cousin. I love you so much.
I know, I love you so much too. Thank you. And to our listeners, like, I feel the same way, like lately when we talk about how we want to like channel the best, messages that we can, and we're talking about the metaphysical and magical stuff, of course. We have our times where we're just being silly and talking about ghosts, and obviously that's just us like kick back and relax kind of thing. But still,
sure,
I think we're always trying to just spread like, awareness and truth and good times and fun and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that came to me this week was angel number 9. So I kept having synchronicities with number 9. And at first I didn't see it. And then I saw it probably later in the week. And I was like, wait a second. I've been seeing this all week. I was looking at my receipts that I received. I was looking at emails that I got, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been seeing this all week. So I felt like, I didn't know if it was a call for me or if it's a call for somebody else out there. But basically number 9 is just to connect with your soul mission and purpose in life. And so
nice.
I just thought I needed to share that with everybody.
That's a good one to get. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm still just seeing 11 and 11 most of the time, which is not a bad one to have, but it's usually just like a constant. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Like every afternoon I'm like, what time is it?
I feel like earlier last year, that's what I was seeing, like 11, like all the time. And now it's specific week to week. So
that's cool.
I feel like it's ever changing.
Yeah. I love the synchronicities.
Yeah.
So my only thing that I had to share was my own stupidity, because I thought it was kind of funny at the time.
Okay.
But like lately I've been doing these meal replacement drinks, which I've been enjoying because I don't like being in the kitchen. I like to just like make something in a couple seconds go. They taste great and then they keep me full or whatever. And so I had just made one before we were going to record. It's like chocolate. I put in a banana and, it just tastes yummy. And so I tuck it under like my arm and I'm walking down the stairs, and then I grab this bowl and I put it down for my dog. And as I bend over, I completely forget that I have a shake like tucked under my arm. And so as I bend over, I just spilled the whole shake, like half of the shake on the floor. It just like out, and I just like stand back up slowly, and I literally have just one of those moments where you just stand there for like 10 seconds like processing as this stuff is just dripping everywhere, and I'm like, did I really just lose half of my breakfast on the floor?
Oh no.
But I don't know, I thought that was funny, and I don't know if you can relate to that, but
I can totally
that was my
relate
morning.
to that. Yeah, I totally relate to that. I'm sorry that happened to you, but yeah, it's like I'll have these spaced out moments. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm like, how did I forget I was carrying that? But that's just me. That's like a metaphor for my life right now. Like I'm just half in, half out.
Right, right. Um, I had an incident happen. Remember how I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but remember when we had the full moon, I said that I saw the moon's aura. And so I thought this week I would practice looking at auras while I was meditating. And I was able to see the aura of my tree in the backyard.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. It was this nice green color. And then I was like, okay, well, each day I want to try to do it a little bit more. And I've always wanted to see my own aura. I've always thought that it might be teal, blue, purple, that kind of color. But when I looked this time, and I'm seeing it constantly every day now. So I can see my own aura every day now. And it's rainbow colored.
Nice. Isn't that like the ultimate guru color or something?
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not saying that I leveled up or anything, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm seeing this. I keep trying to not doubt myself, because that's one of my biggest flaws, is that I'm constantly doubting myself and doubting the messages when I just need to go with the flow and I need to just embrace it. So I'm trying really hard. And I think because I was embracing it more and more, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So the first time I saw my aura as a rainbow, I was like, nah, that can't be it. That can't be right.
Yeah, you're
And
like, oh, must just be my eyes. That's really cool. Every time you tell me about auras from like 2 weeks to the next 2 weeks, it's been a huge like development. And so this is really exciting, because like I said, when we researched this topic, you were like, wow, I can't believe I didn't ever know about all this and how in depth aura is. And ever since you unlocked that little level, boop, like your brain just exploded, and now you have this knowledge and you've unlocked it. And it's just like level up auras, leveling up auras.
Right. Yeah. It's like I'm finally grasping the concept of it. And I feel like it just keeps popping up on different things that I'm reading about. And even in my psychology class that I was in this week, we were kind of talking about the same kind of thing, just keeping an open mind and that kind of stuff. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, that and combined with your healing, I think is going to go hand in hand when you start like really seeing everything and feeling everything at the same time. You're putting these pieces together and it's going to make an amazing little piece.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I had one other cool news article that I found, and I thought that you could really relate to this, so I'm really excited to share it with you. There was this man in North Carolina, or I should say there is this man in North Carolina. His name is Jonathan Flom, and he's just this local dairy farmer, and he delivers milk to different people in town where he lives at, and just connects with people there. And when coronavirus came, he was starting to see, all the negative things that happened along with the coronavirus, people down. And he said that he felt like even he was losing what the true meaning of life was all about.
Dang.
And so, yeah. And so he has this playhouse in his yard, which I thought you could relate to. And he decided to kind of take it apart and make it into, and rebuild it and make it into a little tiny temple so that he could go out there and meditate every day.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes. So he goes out and meditates, and he says, and this is the little quote that I just absolutely love. He says, when I'm in that space, I feel like I'm with all beings. Wow. And so my heart just opened up so much to this experience that he's having. So I wanted to share that with you.
I do love that. It makes my imagination go wild, because I have like now a playhouse in my backyard because I'm with my mom right now. And so like if I look out, there's just this old abandoned playhouse that's used for storing furniture right now, because there's no children here that want to go run around and play in it. And I think it's limiting to keep it as a playhouse. So to transform something like that into a meditation space is brilliant, because it's in nature. You know,
Right.
it's already between the worlds kind of place.
Mhm.
It's a really good crossroads. You could do so much in there, and now it's like, Mom, can I like totally take over your shed or whatever? Like, that'd
I
be
love it.
amazing. That would be amazing. I've only ever had like very small altar spaces, never
Mhm.
a meditation room, and I think that's a luxury, and I'm hoping I can get
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. Oh my
Mhm.
God, you just really have a whole new life goal right now.
It was funny because I was eating breakfast this morning and I was just looking at the news and that article came up and I was just
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
I was trying not to trip out.
I always want like the garden outdoor altars, but like let's be real, I live in Oregon, it rains.
Yeah,
You kind of get weirded out. People are watching you too. Like you could just be so
right.
much more comfortable in a playhouse. The only
Hmm.
thing is that you do
Yeah,
really have to be zen, like a little monk about it, and probably like clean it every day and get all the bugs out. So I think
right,
it would be like a
right.
daily ritual, and that could be cute too.
It could be a whole thing where you're
Hmm.
setting up your candles and putting out your rocks and
Yeah, this is how I'm
yeah,
gonna live my
totally.
monk hermit life in the isolation. I'm just gonna become like a monk, but in my mom's backyard.
Yes. I
Just
love it.
pray all day back there.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, millennials. How we failed.
Uh,
So, did you have any other fun stories or catch
I
up?
guess I guess I only had one other thing. I thought
Okay.
I was done, but I do have one other thing. My daughter, she came up with this new protection spell for our home, and I really liked it.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I should say she came up with part of it, and I came up with the other part, so we did it together. Um, but it's basically we wanted to not only protect our space, but also the space around us, and so we decided that we needed to come up with the right wording, and we came up with protect this home from inside out and all the way to its boundaries. And then we've been doing that kind of once a week, just chanting together, chanting that, holding hands, just putting all of our effort into protecting our home. And then we decided to take it one step further to protect our neighbors. So we said, protect this street from inside out and all the way to its boundaries, and then our neighborhood, and then you can do it all the way to your town. So I felt like this one was really good and I could connect with it. So I'm hoping other people would too. So yeah.
I love that. I feel like I need to write that chant down just to like solidify it into my memory and then read it a couple times to myself. But I definitely want to
Sure.
do that. And then the idea of expanding it out is really sweet. Like
Yeah.
very good village witches of you. Take
Yes.
care of your town.
We we're starting to realize that not everybody wants to accept that kind of love and protection. So we're only sending it to those, we're sending it out there kind of like a beacon almost, that anybody who is willing to accept it can take it.
So
Because
they
there
have
are
to ask
people
for
out
it.
there who don't, yeah, there are people who don't want to accept that kind of protection because they're not on the same kind of level. You know what I mean?
I
So if they're
do.
not somebody that we're, they're if it's not somebody like our family, like all of our family, if anybody who has a family or friends that you consider to family, if you're praying for that person or meditating for that person, of course they're going to accept it because there's love between you.
You know, I kind of
Um,
like that because sometimes when people of different faiths and say they like pray for you or whatever, you know, how it
mhm,
just kind of like, just, I don't know, sometimes you could be like, well, that's nice, but okay.
right,
So it's kind of like that where you're just like, well, it's there if you want it, but you don't have to accept it. So it's kind of
right,
giving people boundaries and a choice, which is kind of
right.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, because not everybody wants to take that, so it's there. It's there for those who need it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Recently I had a family member just send me like some sort of a gospel song about Jesus, and it
It's
was just
probably
like,
my dad.
yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, please watch. And then I'm like, is this like because they think you need Jesus or because they love this song so much? And so I never know how to take these things.
Right. I think if it's coming from my dad, it's because he loves it so much and he just wants to
Okay.
share it with everybody.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I think he saw my Instagram and knows. He knows I'm with the Dark Lord.
right. I felt felt bad for my dad because he's single. So he
Mm.
lives at home by himself. He doesn't, it's not like I can stop by. I can only video message him. I can talk to him, but I can't stop by. And so during this time for him, he's used to going out and doing mission stuff for his church. He's used to going out and volunteering. He's used to doing all these things. And right now he can't do a lot of that because he's elderly and, you know, he falls under the category where he could contract the virus. So he's stuck in his home by himself and he's going a little stir crazy. So when he sends those out, I know it's in his best heart, you
Okay.
know, but
That's just my own social anxiety twisting things,
No.
obviously, with
No.
my lenses. But that's really
Right.
cute. And like he just recently got on the technology
I know.
bandwagon, so he's doing great.
Right.
Already sending little links. The fact
Yeah.
that like everyone in your family starts getting on Instagram is that when you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to jump ship and go to TikTok until like you just kind of keep going on the new platform and be like, okay, no one will find me here.
Right.
I'm like a social
Right.
media, social distancing all the time. I'm like, okay, there's too many people on this one. I gotta leave it.
Right. And for me, I feel bad, like with my dad, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I haven't even come out to him about being a witch or
That's what I was
or
wondering
believing
about
in
the
this kind
Jesus
of stuff.
song. Does he?
Yeah.
Because we don't talk
No.
about this in our family
Nope.
circle, really. I'm still kind of like,
Yeah. He probably doesn't know. He probably has no clue. It's just in his mind that, hey, I like this. Here, listen to it.
okay. At least he
Yeah.
hasn't figured out how to read an Instagram bio yet, then. Or figured out what the Cousins Coven is. That's gonna be fun.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. It's up in the air. Well, should we move on to our questions?
Yeah, probably before we expose all of our secrets.
16 minutes in and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I'm telling you all about my dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Woo, I'm really open with you guys. Okay. So today our first question comes from Jenny May Holistic Healing, or at Jenny May Holistic Healing on Instagram. And she says, what is your favorite witch spell or tradition for Beltane?
Oh yeah, I forgot that I was going to answer this question.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Beltane is one of my favorite Sabbats aside from Samhain. So Halloween, I'd say this is like right under there for me. It's like a really good festival. It's like May Day basically. It has the fire, so it's like jumping over the fire and dancing around a maypole. This is usually surrounded with the idea of doing like festivals, and it's a spring equinox. It's the halfway point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. This is the fun thing about like learning all the Wiccan / pagan like holidays, is that they're just so similar, and like this is just 2 months from that one, and 2 months from this one there's another holiday, and it's just, I always forget what part of the holiday I'm at sometimes, or I mean the nature aspect of I'm at.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Beltane, I think it's also kind of like one of those festivals that's surrounded by fertility, like many pagan holidays. So it's like encouraged for the divine feminine and the divine masculine to come together and bring about bounty and spring. And so there's lots of like god and goddess lore about them mating, the god and the goddess, during this time. So it's kind of like a sexy festival, you know. There's fire dancing. I have always wanted to go to a Beltane festival. Like this would be a dream of mine. I just imagine it having like the bonfires and the food, a maypole, everyone wearing like flower crowns. Like I need to go to this cult meeting wherever that's going on. Please send me invites. This has to be something that goes on in our Pacific Northwest. Like it's only a matter of time before we figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that there are some up in the Portland area right now. I know there probably won't be. I know that there were a couple of groups who were doing some online Beltane festivals. So,
which is a sweet idea because it is hard to find people to celebrate holidays with. This one, when I first started becoming witchy, it would always kind of depress me because I don't know what it was. I just had this expectation of like something amazing happening, but I was the only one I knew who was celebrating this holiday. So like it can be kind of isolating, but I think for Beltane, it's just really cool to have a nice ritual if you can have the time for it. So like maybe during that month, you look into what you want to do, what you want your altar to be, theme it out, get yourself a ritual going, do something for the goddess, have like an offering, and really look into nature and spend time with nature that day, take a walk. You could always make like a fancy bread to celebrate the Sabbath, spend time with family, or just have a meal with your family and make it kind of extra, however that is for you, if you want to add like a dessert or a wine to it. So that's traditionally how I actually celebrate versus what I want.
Right.
But I
Right.
think whatever you want to do to make it a little bit special, there's a lot of little traditions that you can bring into your day.
Yeah. And bring into your altar.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I love
for
that you can
sure.
make a wreath and put those all around your house, like a spring wreath. I know that I'm pretty sure we did an episode about this.
Yeah,
like
I want to say.
early on.
Right, because I was like, we have to talk about Beltane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew it was your favorite. And
Mhm.
when you mentioned the bread, I was like, oh, it sparked in me. I was like, oh yeah, we did an episode on this because I remember that they used to put something in the bread, and that when you would, if you came across that, it was like a little baby or something, and if you ate the bread and the baby came out,
It sounds like
then
a
something
traditional
would
baby
happen.
shower game.
Yeah, right. Right.
And that's the one who would get sacrificed, is whoever ate the baby.
Right.
There was some horrible holiday where you were telling me about sacrifices, and I was just like, whoa, sorry. This is why people hate pagan people. Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Beltane. So, but what's my favorite witch spell or tradition? That's, I guess, so specific. I was very generic with that answering, wasn't I? And all over the place. But I don't know if I have
That's
a favorite
right.
spell. I have like my OG Book of Shadows that I made within my year-to-day training, where I was just doing a whole year of like trying to become a witch kind of thing, is what they do in some circles. And so I just printed out like a bunch of spells that I pulled from the internet, or I would type up from different books. And so I was always leaning heavily on other practitioners for material. So sometimes I'll still go back to those Sabbath rituals that I have in there, because they just kind of feel like a high ceremony that I could do that's a little more formal than me just doing my own thing. But I really don't even remember where I got it from. I'm sure it says in my book, but I don't have it on me. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't have like a great thing to share with anybody as far as a specific spell, but I hope that gives some insight into things you could do.
Yeah. And I love the whole making it your own. So even if you use somebody else's, really making things your own is kind of my favorite. I have to say I haven't really partaken in Beltane, but it does seem like a beautiful thing. I was hoping that this year we would get to celebrate together. So we'll see.
Yeah, we already have? Oh no, it's in May.
Yeah, it's in May. So
wow, it's just around the corner.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Yeah, I would always like in my beginning stages of this witch life is when I was heavily into the Sabbats and the Esbats, because that was just like, oh well, I'm a witch now, so these are my holidays, so let me learn about them and do them. And so I would like make trips to the Dollar Tree to get like napkins, and I would use them as altar cloths, because just budgeting, and I'd get specific candle colors, and I know for Beltane it's red and white, and just try to get a bottle of wine and all that kind of fun stuff. I always would go to World Market too for candles. I love World Market candles.
Nice.
Wine.
So. I think I'm going to start making my own candles. I was looking into it, and it's not very expensive. So my daughter got me a kit for Christmas that I'm going to do this week finally, and it looked so fun. And so I was like, I think I'm going to like this. Oh no, I think I'm going to have to get supplies. Oh no, I think I'm going to be making a ton of candles.
It would be really fun to do like your own ritual candles, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah. We wanted to do our own colors, and we figured we could label them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Charge them with that energy.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
As you're making it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to tell you guys about it once I finally do it.
I know. Okay, now I've got excited more. Okay, so I'll ask our next question.
Okay. All right.
So JD asks, what are catnip and alfalfa used for?
So I know we talked about catnip on our healing episode a little bit, but I did go a little bit deeper and look into it a little bit more. So catnip is associated with the planet Venus and the element water, and obviously the goddess Bast, or Bastet, however you want to say it, which, remember, she's that Egyptian cat goddess whom we love so much. I think it's really interesting that I didn't realize that with catnip, it creates a psychic bond with you and your cat. So simply by
Mhm.
just using the ritual of just giving it to them and sitting with them and letting them know that they are loved, and you can just send those messages telepathically between you and the cat. The cat doesn't need to actually hear your words, just feel your vibrations, and that will create a psychic bond between you two.
That is so fun. Oh my god, I want to do this with my cat Poe, and I am so
Yeah.
inspired. You're amazing this episode. You are like lighting a fire under my like magic ass. I'm like, yes, convert Playhouse, buy catnap ritual. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so here's another thing that you can do with it. So you can grow your own catnip in a pot inside or outside, and this kind of attracts positive spirits to your house. So that way positive energy, positive spirits, and that stuff is there.
I would love to grow my own catnip, but I'm such a like a consumer when it comes to herbs and stuff. I'm like, wait, how
Sure.
does this little green fleck come from a plant? Like, I have so much to learn.
Yeah. Um, you can also use catnip in a ritual setting, like for love spells. You just use it in a mojo bag, simply add some rose petals with it, or maybe some oils to it. And that could be used in a love spell, which, I'm really not into love spells, but I had to mention it anyways.
I think that's cute too, though. Like,
Yeah.
let's face it, sometimes a bitch needs a love spell.
Yeah. But it could even be a love spell for yourself.
Yeah, and like now that I'm
Self-love.
single, I'm thinking about ways where it's not about controlling a person, but it's kind of like Practical Magic. Let's take it always back to Practical Magic, the movie.
Yes.
Where you're just like,
Yes.
I have this list of qualities that I know that would be helpful for me. Like, I want to manifest this right relationship, this good relationship. So where you're being open about it and you're not controlling. I think that's where I have to draw the line. Like, you can't just be like, I want Thomas to love me tomorrow. Like, you just have to be like,
Right.
universe, give me self-love, give me good love, give me healthy relationships. And that can mean many things.
Right. It could be friendships too. So
yeah, I'm gonna get down on some love magic in the future. We'll have some episodes.
Yes. So one other way that you can use catnip too is in a bath, and apparently it will alleviate sore muscles from illnesses or overworking. Like if you've overworked your muscles from working out, or just because you're aging, like me, that I can really relate to this because I'm not old, but I'm getting there. And so
you're like, I have to say this. I'm not old, people, okay?
But I'm getting there.
Isn't that for everyone? We're getting there.
Just getting there. So that's all I had on catnip. So I do have some things about alfalfa, which I forgot about alfalfa, but that's something that comes like in a sprout form, which you can eat, or a lot of people put it on sandwiches or salads or stuff like that. But alfalfa is also related to the planet Venus, and you can use it to protect against poverty, or to ensure like that you can get a loan. So basically you put it in a green mojo bag along with some gold coins and basil, and this kind of allows for prosperity and protection. You can even put some alfalfa in your wallet, which I now sounds disgusting because I'm sure it would get moldy. So just keep a watch on it. But you can also do like a visualization spell with it, and this will help you hang on to the money that you currently have. I really like that one because I was like, oh, I could use the alfalfa, and just by eating it, I could be like, please let me keep the money I have and make me be kind of a spendthrift instead of just spending. Because I do have a tendency myself to spend on whatever I want.
Me. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
This is like the first time where I have been inspired to have a herb garden. Like, I know I talked about wanting to do that and it never manifested, and then I just let it die off because I'm lazy. But talking about catnip and alfalfa is kind of putting that inspiration there.
Good.
I think that it would be really cute if I know we talked about having this like not herb garden, but like mojo bag like thing we want to do. This would be perfect if we did our own herbs for people to make their own mojo bags, and we like had all the stuff ready for them. Like, oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this.
Right. Make a kit. I love that idea. So one other way that you could use alfalfa is by burning it and just placing it in the four corners of your property, and that will allow for protection around your property. So just one last kind of little thing.
That's a good one. Add that to
Yeah.
the list, because I always know we'd talk about putting crystals, which can be expensive at the
Right.
four corners of your property. I know
Right.
I don't have crystals to go bury, and I love my crystals so much. I'm just too greedy to bury them, so I wouldn't feel bad
Sure.
about burying alfalfa.
Right. Because it's cheap.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's a great question. Thank you, JD.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy, for getting those
Yeah.
answers.
Yes. All right. So our next question comes from Trey, and he says, I have a question for you guys. This is something I'm very interested in. Have you all done any episodes on familiars? If not, that would be amazing to hear your thoughts on what exactly a familiar is and how we can go about making that connection with our animal friends. And I hope you guys are doing well. So thank you, Trey, for
Thank
saying that.
you.
That's so cute.
Doing well. I think it's something we've mentioned, kind of like what we're going to do right now, where we just kind of talk about it a little bit, but we don't
Yeah.
go full episode.
Right.
But I think it is a common question. Like, this isn't the first time we've got asked about familiars, I don't think.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it just goes to show that like people who use magic are definitely in touch with the nature, and animals are all a part of nature. So it goes, hand in hand. Why wouldn't you want to use an actual animal in your magic kind of thing?
Right.
And not use them, but more like a familiar. I guess it's said that they like aid you in your practice. So I think when you first think of familiar, you're going to think of like a cat or maybe a bird, a raven, or some kind of animal that's physical or a pet. But another way to look at it too is just like I guess like a spirit guide kind of a thing that you could have.
Right.
So I feel like that's more of an interesting way to look at it, because it has to be like a conscious spirit that's there to help you. And to connect to your messages from the spirit realm. And it could be something that you even manifest and put so much energy into that you create it, kind of like what they say a tulpa is, that you just have so much belief in something, you can manifest it into reality. So it could be like an astral animal that you have a connection with. It could be just sort of like a spirit guide. And some people I was seeing kind of say that that can be a fae or an elemental that you're connecting with, and it even like elevates your magic, helps boost your magic. So I feel like for me, I usually work with sea turtles a lot when I think about animals. Sometimes I think about deers and just horned beasts because of like connection with Cernunnos, the horn god, and Pan and things like that. And then as far as an actual pet, I have had quite a bit of pets in my lifetime, and I feel like one of the cats I currently have is into it when I'm doing rituals, and he enjoys the energy, and he kind of responds to it and plays off of it, but I don't really know if there's anything more to it than that.
Right. I definitely see the correlation between a familiar and a spirit animal. I feel like those to me are almost one and the same, because you're right. You can physically have a pet that you have around daily as your familiar, but you can do whatever you feel connected to. So if you can meditate or call upon your spirit animal, then maybe that animal can show itself to you, and then just show gratitude to it, and maybe incorporate it into your altar space, maybe incorporate it into your garden, or your meditation space. So
Definitely
my thing.
Yeah, or even just go to like a meditation spot where you're going to a place where the two of you can connect in like a meditation space. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to be physical, but I know I have like little candle holders with some sea turtles on them, and sometimes I'll bust it out and like truly I invoke that kind of energy into the space. So I think that there's a lot you can gain from connecting with elementals and spirit guides and being open to that. I feel like I have a lot of work to do in the coming months and years, and just like reconnecting to my new environment that I'm in after moving, and reconnecting to all this energy that's here. And I think that there's more spirit guides in my future to come. I like the idea, like we talked about recently, like dragon magic, or just like something like that, where you're just reaching into an ancient guide. And I think that kind of crosses the line again with familiars. I know like Native American culture, some of them refer to them as power animals. So it's all kind of one and the same in how you want to look at it, or what angle you want to attack it from.
Right. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, it's like, what about you? Do you have any kind of spirit guides that you like to work with?
I have to say crows,
Nice.
butterflies. Yeah, those are kind of my two go-tos. And when you mentioned the fae, that really calls to my heart. I do remember, like as it gets warmer into the summer months, I like to sit outside and I can see the fae in different nature scenes. So like for me, I remember last summer I was sitting out on the porch just meditating, and you know those flowers that turn into what little kids call wishes. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember those?
Mm-hmm.
I can see the fae in those because the way that they fly around. When you're watching them, this is going to sound like I'm tripping out of my mind, but I'm
I
not
love
really.
this.
But like when I was watching it, it was like it was floating from place to place, and it like would land on the other flowers nearby, like it was admiring them, and then float to the next place and the next place, and they're carried on by the wind, and so I can see the fae in that, and so I feel like if you are using the fae as your familiar, honestly, it could be something just as simple as that.
I am so happy because I feel like I think the same thing so many times. And to actually say it to someone, you're like, I sound fucking retarded. But like, I know that that's nature, but looking at nature, it looks like a fairy because I've been doing this since I was
Exactly.
a child. And even just
Yeah.
recently in my backyard in the spring, it's been gorgeous. I've been enjoying Oregon Spring so
Hmm.
much. And like after a rain and it's sunny, like you'll just see like droplets like flickering in the wind on the grass blade. And I was looking
Yes.
at this and it was just one droplet and it was catching the sun. So it was just like a beam, like a fairy light just dingling in the
I
grass. And
love
I was
it.
like, that just looks like a little fairy. I love that. Is that just a fairy looking at me? And
It could be.
I
It
just,
is what you think of it.
yeah, that's like, I
Yeah.
think the same thing. And so the fact that you say that, we need to go sit on a porch somewhere and out in the cabin in the woods and just like fairy
Yes.
watch.
Yeah. I love it.
That's too cute.
It's great.
I don't even know how we got there. Oh, we got there from that tangent talking about familiars. It's like, what
Yes.
are we doing talking about fairies?
One and the same in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So Trey asks us another question. He says, not sure if this is a good place to leave this, but here it goes. Did you all know as kids that you were interested in magic? So I'll let you start with this one.
I was a very imaginative kid, and I like I talked about with the fairies, like even as a kid I remember being in my room and like dust would be flying in the window and it just like, you know how it just like goes and hovers around, and I was like, they're fairies, and I would just like circle around my dust in my room like it was fairies. So I've always been really imaginative, very escapist, really into all these kind of shows and media that showed like magical girls and things like that. I don't know if I actively knew that that's what I was doing as a kid. I do remember
Hmm.
that like I had a telephone book in my room because, you know, in the 90s we always would have like 5 telephone books just like mailed to your house throughout the year, and so each kid like had their own, like, here you go, you have a phone in your room, now you can have a phone book. And so I had it and I'd pretend it was my spell book and I would like open it up
Yes.
and go to a page and like kind of like Gandalf like in Lord of the Rings, I was just like madly going, like I was doing stuff like that before Lord of the Rings even came out, of course, but like just flipping through it and like looking like okay, I hear the ingredients. So like I always had this in my idea, like in my head I had this idea of being in a witchy space in my room where it was like, okay, over here I've got all my little vials and here are my books and my animals. And so like in my mind I think I've always been a witch, but I didn't know that that was a possibility as a kid, as
Right.
that pagans make it, the way that like it's just a religion and an outlook and a way of life and manifesting. Like I wasn't aware of those tools really.
Right.
So that's kind of how I could correlate it. Like I've always been just a weirdo, basically.
But just imagine as a kid if your parents were teaching you that kind of stuff, like
I would have gone for
that
it.
it was limitless. Yeah. I feel like I've been teaching my kids that since they were little. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here you go. Here's this bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm lucky that, like, as an aunt, there's been times where I've had the opportunity to pass that on basically to the nieces and the nephews.
yes.
And it's just like, are you sure? Are you sure I'm allowed to? And their parents would just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Like, my brother was even like, my son wants to use the Ouija board. And I was like, whoa, I don't even know if he's old enough for that one. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm so down that you're down. This is great.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this.
Mhm.
For me as a child, I didn't really know. I did always believe in I was really an imaginative child, and I did have abilities as a child, and I could see things as a child, but I didn't know, like you were saying, I couldn't put a name to any of it. As far as being a witch goes, um, I feel like I was just born that way. And I think I've said that before, that I was just born into it, really. And it was a part of my core. And it wasn't until maybe high school that I no, it was after high school that someone mentioned to me, they were like, um, you should really look into witchcraft. I think that it would speak to your heart. And so I just still didn't even really believe in it then. I still didn't fully open up to it. I had all these stigmas. And I think it wasn't until you and I really started doing the podcast that I've really blossomed so much. And as I've slowly been coming out to people, they were like, oh, yeah, we already knew that about you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I think, like, us coming and doing this together, we were able to just, like, stand hand in hand and fight all of the negative associations and the fear together to,
Right.
like, stand stronger together as
Yeah.
witches. So
Yeah.
that's really cool that's how it came about for this podcast and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know we both
Absolutely.
always been interested in the paranormal. Like, as a kid, I was always looking into the ghost shows, and I made my
Right.
first Ouija board in one of these haunted hotels in McMinnville and was, like, conjuring spirits. So and just all the books I was reading was always like the Chronicles of Narnia and escapism
Oh,
and
yeah.
magic, and yeah, that one had Christian undertones, and, like, my whole life everything had Christian undertones. So it just felt
Sure.
like that's what I knew as far as religion, and magic
Right.
slowly opened itself up to me after I moved away from all of that, and it was a slow process. So it's interesting.
Right.
It's okay if you're a late bloomer to the process. It's really awesome if you were, like, hereditary, good for you. But I think we all have different paths, and mine took a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're right. It's a journey. It really is. I mean, just like life. Life is a journey, but it depends on what you want to bring into it, I suppose.
So we got another question here.
Yes. The big one.
Is this the same JD or a different JD?
Yes, it's the same one. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the multiple questions. We needed it, so we appreciate it. JD asks us again if we can discuss Planetary Magick.
All right. So I just ran with this. So when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be the lead on this. I know we've talked about sun magic. I know we've talked about moon magic and even earth magic, but I kind of wanted to take a deeper look, just kind of like in our solar system. So I didn't go through and look at the whole universe, but I decided to
How dare you?
Solar system.
How dare you not know everything about the universe?
Oh, I did kind of want to note before I start going into it that you can really use anything around you in a spell for protection. I feel like anything you do, so all of these planets, you can use them in protection in your own ways, but you have to find out what it is that you need to protect yourself from, or what you want to use it. So when you're talking about a planet or even anything whatsoever, I feel like you have to feel out what that certain specific thing brings to the table and how you can use that into your protection spell. So just a little side note. Okay, so let's just go into it. Are you ready for this?
I am. This is definitely something that I've always wanted to learn about because of Sailor Moon, once again, going back. So let's learn about it. Let's do this.
Let's learn about it. So I want to just start off with Saturn. So Saturn is related to the god Kronos, or those gods that are associated kind of with the darker side, like darkness. When you're doing spells, you could use the lead in there, or any sort of shiny kind of metal. Saturn represents the day of the week of Saturday, which if you do any research into the days of the week, basically Saturday was called Saturn. It was like Satern, which was based on Saturn, the planet. So
That's awesome that everyone loves Saturday. Yes, Saturn Day.
Yes,
like that'd be cool.
yeah.
Everyone's just like giving Saturn the god, or what is it, Kronos the god? Like all
Kronos
these
the
praise.
god.
The other gods
Yeah.
would be like the Monday god must be so jealous. No one's happy on my day.
Exactly. I thought it was interesting that really, honestly, they've been worshiping, or people have been worshiping the days of the week since early, like 500, like just shortly before Christ, like 500 BC. Yeah.
Okay, why am I doing this? So this is another thing. I'm just going to write down all these gods' names, and then each day have like, here's a shot for you, Kronos. Just leave it on the board for him.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I love it. And then colors that you can use for Saturn would be like blacks, indigos, ambers. You could use stones like onyx. And so when you're doing magical spells with Saturn, these are great for like phobias and fear, or if you struggle with addictive personality habits or OCD, Kronos or those darker gods can help you with that, because they know about the darkness, so they can help you with those darker sides of yourself. They can also help you create boundaries with yourself and others. So you might want to look into doing spells about creating boundaries. This is one that I have a hard time with. I don't always set boundaries. And if you find that you're having obstacles in your life that you've created yourself, which I will admit that I create a lot of obstacles in my own environment, you can ask those gods for their help in helping you get out of those obstacles and maybe overcoming them. And that way, maybe you don't set those obstacles up for yourself anymore.
That's really useful.
Yeah. So that's what I found out about Saturn. It's a beautiful planet. And now we have Venus. Venus is related to the goddess Aphrodite, or maybe you know that as Freya, any gods that are associated with love. So as we found before in any of the magic that we're doing with gods and goddesses, there are multiple names, but I believe that they all stem from the same god.
Okay, I like calling her Freya a little bit more. I think that's more tied to the Odin storyline. So
Right.
I wonder if there's a way to connect each planet to the whole Odin frame.
I believe that there is.
Okay.
Actually, I was reading something about that. So it just depends on what speaks to your heart.
Yeah.
You need to choose the god or goddess that you feel connected to, and the storyline that you feel connected to. So,
okay, I love this.
Yeah. So anybody associated with love. Metal would be like a copper color, so you could even use pennies or something like that. Day of the week is Friday, hence Freya Friday. Colors would be greens, so that means stones would be like emerald or a green jasper. And spell work is going to be healing of the heart or your soul. So maybe you could ask Freya to help you heal that heart if you've been through some trauma, or maybe you just need a boost in your soul or your spirit. You can maybe offer something to her and she can help you with that. You can also call on Venus to provide harmony in your home, your work, or even inside yourself. And obviously you can do love spells.
That's awesome. This is so much fun. I don't know what it is about this episode. Like, everything you're telling me is stuff that I want to do. So now I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, cool. Now I need to make a calendar. Not only am I just going to look at the moon phases for the calendar, now I want to look at like the god day of the calendar, and every day work with that person.
Good. Next on my list is Mars, which you could use the god Ares or goddess Athena. Basically any of those gods or goddesses that are associated with war or destructive behaviors, or maybe you consider them to be protectors. So you could look at the negative aspect or the positive aspect depending on what you want. Metals would be like iron. The day of the week is Tuesday. Colors, just like the planet, would be reds or oranges. So maybe you'd want to use a ruby or a garnet or maybe even a jasper. Spells are spell work you could do like for physical strength. So maybe to help you start a workout plan or to stay on track with the workout plan, or you could put the symbol of Mars onto a candle or on some paper and light it on fire, or light it because Mars has that kind of fire aspect to it. So you could do that. That could help you gain that physical strength that you need to kind of stay on track with your body temple.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you want to win a competition, so you could do a spell for that. If you want a promotion for work, or help and asking for that promotion, confidence in yourself to ask for that promotion, you could do a spell for that. Maybe you want a stronger willpower, the ability to say no more often, or confidence in yourself. You could do spells for that as well.
That's
and
also going on my list.
You're like, I can hear you. You're like taking down notes. You're like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Okay.
yes, more. Next, we go to Jupiter. So gods for Jupiter would be like Zeus or Thor, or those associated with kind of weather manipulation. Metals that you could use in your spells would be like tin or platinum. Platinum's a little more expensive, so I'm like, cheap. I'm over here. Tin it is.
Like a tin can.
Yeah. Day of the week is Thursday. They used to call it Thor's Day, by the way.
That should just be something we do and have Chris Hemsworth stuff everywhere. Like hashtag Thor's Day.
Exactly. Colors to use would be blues and purples. So stones like lapis lazuli, maybe a sodalite or an amethyst. And I only found like one really spell that you could use Jupiter for, and it's for spiritual growth, enlightenment, optimism, stuff that's positive. So if you want to go to a positive magic, you're going to want to call on Jupiter or the gods of Jupiter.
Jupiter is one of my like favorite planets for sure.
Nice. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you're feeling called. It wasn't until I started learning about or digging into this planetary magic that I actually found a calling of one, and I'll tell you when I get there, but I'm not there yet.
Okay, we got so many, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is, I'm going to call it Uranus instead of Uranus, even though I will tell you that it used to be called Oranos, which then they called Caelus.
Excuse me, what?
Yeah, it used to be called Oranos.
When was that?
O-U-R, like years and years ago. We're talking about in the times of the stories of Zeus and things
okay,
like that.
I was like, what? Like your childhood? I don't believe this.
No. So they actually didn't. Uranus is like an American term. So it used to be Oranos, and so it was Ouranos, and then later in Greek times they changed it over to Caelus, and then Uranus is what we call it now.
Caelus
so
kind of rolls off the tongue. That sounds like a
exactly.
cute guy name. Hey Caelus,
yeah.
What's up?
And so Caelus and Oranos are actually the same god. Uranus is a god, so that's the god that you would call on. Is just Uranus or Oranos or Caelus.
Gotcha.
And metals to use would be platinum. You can call on Caelus any day of the week. Colors are white, clear, blues. So we're talking about quartz, opal, diamonds, that kind of thing. Said you could even use like a sapphire, like a blue sapphire. I was like, dang, that's expensive. I'll stick with my quartz.
Yeah, no thanks.
Spell work. It's good for making changes in yourself, changes in the world. So this could go either way for good or evil. It really depends on your intentions and what you put in there. So I did read some story or some information saying that people were using it to make changes in the world for what I would consider the evil, but they considered it to be positive. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on what you want to use it for. It's really just used for changes, to make change and create change.
All useful. All of this you could use in your daily life.
Exactly. So next, let's talk about Pluto. Pluto is associated with the god Alcyone or Osiris, Hades, any kind of god that's associated with transformation and rebirth. And metals you would use are like iron, steel. You could do Pluto work any day of the week. So that's good. Colors are yellows and blacks. So we're talking about stones of citrine, smoky quartz, obsidian. And here are some spells that you can use with good little Pluto. So I know Pluto could be a planet or not a planet, depending on what outframe you're looking at, but I definitely want to call on Pluto sometime because Pluto can help you get rid of old habits and make room for new ones in the form of shadow work. So you could use Pluto in that shadow work that you're doing for yourself, which we haven't really talked about on podcasts too much. I know we've talked about it personally, and maybe one day we'll go in a little bit deeper, but shadow work. Ugh. Do you want to talk about it at all before I go on?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, if you're not familiar with the concept of shadow work, it's just looking at your own personal shadows and maybe what are things you need to work on, looking at your issues and being like, okay, what's a trigger for me? What makes me upset? Okay, why would that make me upset? And sometimes you have to really go deep into journaling or meditation and go back. And there's all these different techniques you could use, whether it be spell work or whether it be like talking to your childhood self through meditation and trying to heal that past trauma by being there for your childhood self and making it better than it was and healing that memory. And before you can really move on and accept it, sort of thing. So shadow work can be really intense. It can be an ongoing process. I don't know if anyone's ever really done with that kind of work.
Right.
It's something that in the witches world, I think, gets talked about quite a bit, and it's good to do to make yourself a stronger person and really learn from the past and anything that you're dealing with.
I love it. So the benefit with calling on Pluto is that Pluto can help give you strength during that time where you may be a little bit weaker, because let's face it, I don't know about you, but when I'm doing shadow work, it's like calling myself out on my shit. And that can be a little hard and a slap in the face sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I feel like I mostly use it to try to like heal from painful memories or try to like stop mental habits. So it can be hard and painful, and I've cried many a times in the process of dealing with shadow work, so I have not called upon Pluto in doing so, and I think that would be cool because I tend to just have a few specific gods in my back pocket and ancestors, but I think I could really branch out with this whole planetary thing.
I love it. So Pluto can also be used for controlling your psychic or empathic abilities, which really kind of called to my heart, because I was like, sometimes my psychic abilities or my empathic abilities are out of control. I could really use some grounding. So maybe I could call on Pluto to help ground me a little bit. Yeah. Pluto's also good for finding kind of those inner secrets inside yourself, so you can tap into your subconscious thoughts and feelings by calling upon him during meditation. So maybe you could light candles and put out your stones and just talk to Pluto and help him, or ask him to help you tap into those subconscious thoughts and feelings, all going along with the same shadow work kind of stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, Pluto sounds like a really handy one, so don't discount Pluto.
Exactly. Next, we have Mercury. Gods would be like Hermes, Loki's, or those kind of associated as trickster gods, or maybe we call them messengers or guides, because I think trickster is kind of a negative connotation, but you could say messenger or guide as well. And metals would be Quicksilver or Mercury itself, which I wouldn't use Mercury. That's deadly. So let's stick with Quicksilver.
Yeah. Do they even have thermometers with that anymore? As a kid, I remember we had one.
I don't think so.
Just put the thermometer on the altar.
No, I'm sure my dad still has one.
Yeah. Just crack that open.
Yep. Days of the week would be Wednesday. Colors are orange or silver. So stones like opal and agate. And spell work, this is a good one for communication. So that means growth and understanding your own ways of communicating and how you can communicate with others, which can be difficult sometimes. I don't know if anybody's like me, but sometimes I have a hard time speaking my voice because I shouldn't say now, but I was always dealing with stigma. So I was always wondering what somebody thought about me, and that helped me not want to communicate my true self or be my true self because I was worried constantly about what are you thinking about me? What are you feeling about me? It shouldn't matter what anybody else thinks. It should only matter what I think. So
Yeah, it's like we have to get past our own head sometimes
right.
and get out of that pattern, because you can spend your whole life just circling in self-doubt, and like
Right.
it's so draining, and it honestly can be a
Yeah.
waste. Like I
Oh
am the
yeah.
same
A
way as
waste
you
of
though.
time.
I'm the same way, because it's not that I want approval or that I necessarily need everybody to be like me. I actually like being the weird person, but like
Mm-hmm.
I just always am worried that what if they think I'm rude? What if they think I'm dumb? What if they think this? Like, it's just, I don't know what that is or
Right.
where that stems from.
Yeah. I feel like everybody struggles with it at some point in their life.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, because humans are very tribal and communal. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, could be.
Pack animals.
Yes, exactly. So another thing you can use Mercury for is powers of healing. So if you need to tap into that healing ability that everybody has inside of them, then you could call on Mercury. Um, and then you could also be used for kind of in a negative connotation as well. So like if you want to do a spell for deception or cloaking or that kind of thing, you would call on Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
That goes in with those trickster gods. You're trying
Right. Loki,
to
for
trick
sure.
somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the last one, last but not least, this one is the one I feel extremely drawn to, is Neptune. Neptune is a god itself, so that would be the god that you would call on. Metal would be iron or nickel. Days of the week, you could do all days of the week. And colors would be blues and greens. So we're talking about stones like aquamarine, turquoise, lapis lazuli. Spell work, this is for connecting with the divine energies, tapping into psychic powers. Maybe you want to lucid dream, go to the astral realm. You're going to want to call on Neptune to help guide you through those realms.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can see a whole bathroom remodel based on what you just told me. Like, just do a Neptune head carved out of iron and like have really nice little swirly beard hair, put it up on the bathroom wall, do bath rituals under it.
Yes.
And all the color scheme of aquamarine is like how I just want to have like in my whole room, so I could totally see some Neptune space being made.
I love that so much. Mm-hmm. And tapping into those psychic powers. I mean, that's something we're all about, right? So
I know, that's my favorite type of thing. I'm always like third eye awakening, third eye this, purple amethyst everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's a cool god. I think that's definitely a Pisces vibe god right there.
Absolutely.
Or a water, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So Planetary Magick sounds dope. There seems like that's like just the tip of getting up to date on their correspondences and how to use them. And then from there, like think of all the rituals you could really do and the candle magic. And like I just mentioned, bath spells or all these kind of things. So it's a really good springboard to get started on a new venture. And I'm thinking this would be a good thing to do. Like, what if you did it for a whole month, every day, did some sort of thing with each god of your choice or whatever, and like journaled the progress.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna have to think about which gods I want to like us to work with, but I'm thinking like Odin vibes, like I'm saying. But oh, this is just too fun. You've really inspired me, and
oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I had to reel myself back because I was like, oh, what about stars? What about black holes? Oh, what about this? What about this? And then I'm like, Wendy, calm down. Stick to local.
Right. Because like, yeah. No, that was a great coverage of a lot of information. And I really like that.
Nice.
Is there
thank
anything...
you guys so much for sending me. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask real quick on this whole magic thing. Was there anything that you're taking from it or that you want to like go do in your own practice or expand on?
Wow, that's a big one. I found such connection with each one of them. It was like when I sat down to do the research, it didn't actually take me that long because I just felt like I'd been thinking about it for weeks. Mm-hmm. Just like I've been called my whole life to the planets. Like I'm always looking up at the stars, always out there. So to hear all of this, it made me have a new kind of appreciation of how those stars and planets could be used in my own daily life, like you were saying. So
Mm-hmm.
I love, that's kind of where I was at. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I love Saturn. Oh, I love Jupiter. I love all of these. So oh, it just made me feel so good inside.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were gonna mention thanks
Oh
for the
yeah.
questions.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for your questions. It was nice to have people write in, and I know we've had a bunch of new listeners, so I also wanted to say thank you guys for listening and really tuning into us, and like thank you so much for just continuing to come back week after week and hearing what we have to say and what our perspective is.
Yeah, without you guys, we'd just be two cousins really bonding and having a great time. So
Yeah,
you know
that's
what? We're
it.
all better together because it's so much fun to know
Yeah,
that it's not just us talking to an abyss. But I think we'd be here regardless, just having fun.
right. And my whole thing, years ago I started having this kind of calling that I really wanted to help people, and I didn't really know how I could help them. And I think it wasn't until you talked to me about this podcast that I was like, oh my gosh, this is a way for me to get my voice out. And then, oh, I have this story to tell and this story to tell. And I feel like my life is really amped up on a daily basis. My magical life is just astronomical.
Right.
So,
Because we're paying more
yeah.
attention to every type of synchronicity and magical occurrence and paranormal occurrence. So, like, I know for me, my ghost activity has ramped up a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
I feel like your witch life has ramped up a lot. So it's kind of
Oh,
like we
yeah.
exchanged that with one another. It was like
Yeah.
you tapped into more of the witch, I tapped in more of the paranormal, and together we're like this power circuit of just both things now. And
Yes.
it's like a reflection every time we have to talk about a topic, learn about a topic, edit it,
Hmm.
put it up, we can hear ourselves and learn from ourselves and then just keep growing and growing and growing. So
Right.
if that's just how it is between two people, imagine the ripple effect it'll have with any of our listeners. And even our listeners telling us about
Exactly.
their experiences teaches us something, asking us about questions. I mean, you wanted to do Planetary Magic for so long, but getting that specific
Yeah.
question made you go do that today. So where
Right.
are you going to be in 3 months? You're going to be like, well, I saw the aura of Pluto. It's just
I
going to
love
escalate.
it.
So
Yeah.
keep asking the questions and
Yeah.
we'll keep collecting them. And we love to get to those and have these kind of casual topics where we can just discuss our common interest with our listeners and each other. And yeah.
Right. I love it so much. I'm kind of curious what I'm going to talk about next. I was like, I've been feeling lately a call to Kabbalah, so I think that might be where I want to go.
Okay. I'm
We'll just have
down.
to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been like all week, it's been thrown in my face about the Kabbalah while I was studying
Mm-hmm.
Planetary Magic. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like that might be where I need to land.
Awesome. I think
Yeah.
you've given me a lot to work with.
Oh, good.
I'm going to try to make myself a little calendar, God's day of the week kind of thing.
Yes. If you do one, you should post it. You should do
If
an
I make like a
Instagram
pretty
picture.
one where it's not just like a list,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too, maybe for the newsletter, like here's a calendar. People might like to see the moon phases for sure, and who knows if they want to know like a different god to think of on that day. Not necessarily that we're trying to force any kind of god worship on you, but you know, it's just more about expanding your awareness and working with these energies and expanding your powers in a sense, you know, and your connection to the world around you. So if we can connect to the planets, I'd say let's do that.
Yes. I do have to say, I found it very interesting when studying Planetary Magic too. I didn't even mention this, is that even in early Christianity, they worshipped these gods.
What? I'm all like, excuse me? There was more than one god in the OG Christianity?
Yeah.
Cool.
Early Christianity.
That's fun.
Really, yeah. So I was like, what? My heart is filled with love.
Yeah, I guess it was easier to do a slow conversion over time than it is to just like cut out everything, because you cut out so much, I think, when you just go, it's only this one energy, and this one energy has all the answers and will tell me what they are. I kind of like this exploration path that I'm on, where it's more like, let's see what energies are out there, let's connect, let's do everything ourselves, and you know, go to what you're being called to.
Right. And I do find it interesting too, like I was saying when I was mentioning the different gods and goddesses, is that they're all, to me, when I was reading about each one, they're all the same. They're all the same god. So the god of Saturn, every name that you could possibly come up with, it's all the same god. It's just whatever they decided to call it from what region that it came from.
It'd be really cool, like if
So,
when, let's say, like you encounter one, they're all gonna take whatever
mhm,
shape you are comfortable with. So like if I were to
right,
see a god, would I see Pan or Odin? Versus,
right.
someone maybe from a Hindu religion would see like Vishnu or somebody else,
Hmm.
where you're saying they all have similar names and similar energy. It's something to really consider, and makes
Hmm.
you remind yourself, for me anyway, to like have respect for all outlooks, the
Yes.
old gods
Yeah.
and the new.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, what a great time I had today. I
Me
hope you did
too.
too.
Yeah, me
Hmm.
too. My to-do list grew a little bit, but in the best kind of way.
Good. That's
So,
good.
yeah, so I guess we'll wrap things up for today.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so you can always find us at our website, cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can sign up for our newsletter, check out our archive episodes from season 1, and all kinds of little blog entry posts. You can also find us at Podomatic for our most up-to-date episodes, and our link for merch will be down below if you're interested, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you. So may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all.